Now in the viewer vote, 45% of you said the Springboks were going to win the Rugby Championship. 49% of you said New Zealand were going to win it. Pretty much a two-horse race in your opinion, but everyone's got one win. Who's going to kick ahead in round 3? And I thought you were going to score.
Ask a better question, you get a better answer.
Hi guys, welcome back. All to play for in round 3. Let's get into the teams, do a bit of a preview, and let me know what you think about what's going to happen in round 3. So let's start with Australia at home to South Africa. A mouth-watering prospect. I'm really excited about this one. Not least because Australia are bolstered by a number of returning players, which I think hit them really hard in round 2. They didn't cope with that at all with their loss to Argentina. And they're clearly going for a plan to beef up their pack. 6-2 split on the bench, looking to fight fire with fire. I like the intent, definitely. And at home at Adelaide, which they haven't played for 18 years, I like it. Home crowd though, so it's going to be exciting. South Africa travelling is always a lot harder, although I think they're actually playing pretty well. So some of their returners are in the front row. So let's have a look at the team. Fainga'a is there starting at 2 with Parecki on the bench. That's the way they want it. Both returning so much stronger in that hooker department in this game, which is perfect timing for South Africa. Obviously incredibly powerful front rows. Alatoa returns at tight head, which means they can bring Taniela Tupou off the bench for that impact. I like the combo. Slipper's there as captain. Yeah, CO returns as well on the bench, so much stronger in the front row. A big sigh of relief for them. You know, the cavalry came when they needed it. Bit of a shuffle in the second row. Phillips preferred to Swain. Let me know which way round you think it's going to be. I think that's pretty much 50-50 there. Swain's on the bench, but they've got their 3 second rows to rotate. Again, how they'd want it. The back row, flankers are definitely inexperienced. I like Holloway, I like McWright, but with 2 and 4 caps respectively, they don't have a lot of experience, especially compared to the South African pairing, Khaleesi and Dutoy. So big games for them. Talking of big, we've got big Rob Valentini at 8. And then on the bench, I mean, look at the guys to come on, as well as Swain, Tupou. You've got Leota and Samu to come on. So loads of power to come on. Lots of flexibility to change the pack. I expect to see all of these guys. And if things are going badly, maybe fairly early. In the backs, you know, a few changes again. I think it's stronger. We have Nick White, obviously at 9, who's a class act, as I always say. At 10, O'Connor's been dropped, unsurprisingly, didn't play that great. Loloseo is in, who I think is their second best 10 anyway to Cooper, so I'm pretty happy with that. Centres are stronger as well. We've got Paisami coming back in and Ikitau there, so they're best 2 centres if Karevi's not fit, so that's great news there. Corambetti gets to play on the wing, you know, their best winger, right on the other wing. Hodge probably still filling in that, you know, stopgap role at 15, and he's probably the 10 cover as well. So again, a little bit tricky if Loloseo does go down injured. Yeah, that's not great, to be honest. I know Hodge can play there, but I'm not sure he's an international 10, but that's the risk you play with a 6-2 split and they're not playing a specialist 10 on the bench, but let me know if someone else might play 10, but that's the way I see it. Forwards on the bench I've mentioned, then McDermott, their specialist 9. Kellaway, who's coming back in after a hamstring injury, probably a starter, I'd say. Normally, very versatile, covering back 3. Does he cover centres as well? Let me know. So Australia, so much stronger than they were in round 2. They've got a fighting chance. They're at home. Can't wait to see them tear in. Now on to South Africa, a couple of changes in the starting 15. Oxenchae, Dweba, they start again in the front row. Maybe a little lucky, but they've been given another chance to prove themselves. You know, they need to get these guys games anyway for the World Cup. So, yeah, big game for them. They've got the bomb squad as they'd want it on the bench of Marks, Kitsoff and Koch. And really they want to detonate that bomb squad in the second half, not have to do it in the first half like last game. So that's going to be interesting. Malherbe there locking out the scrum at tight head. Their best 2 second rows, Etzebeth de Jager starting there, of course. Best 2 flankers, Khaleesi and Pieter-Steph du Toit, 6 and 7. 6 being the open side, of course. Number 8 is interesting. Vermeulen didn't quite look on his game in the last game, got replaced early. Wies is not in the 23 at all, so I think they're trying to get Vermeulen game time. You know, looking at the big picture, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, he needs a big game. I expect him to be better than last game as well. Another change at 9. De Klerk comes in. Faf de Klerk, he's recovered, and I think it's the right call. Hendrikse, brilliant box kicking game. Got some experience now, but yeah, I think he's a little limited. And compared to de Klerk, if he's fully fit, I think de Klerk is the better player and more exciting, certainly. And I like the way South Africa had started to use the width on their game better. De Klerk maybe is slightly better to exploit that as well. So that's good news, I think. Pollard at 10, who's back in form, which is great news. De Lande and Am. De Lande didn't have the best game round 2, so maybe a little bit of pressure on him. Am was great round 2, as was Mapimpi. Willemsen's probably been the star performer of the 2 rounds for South Africa at fullback, which is great, so he stays. On the wing, they had to shuffle. Creel is out, so who comes in? It's Haaland comes in, who I think is a really talented player. Like him a lot, and I think he's got a genuine chance to break into the 23 with a good game here, or maybe 2 good games in a row. Mostert, who can replace second row or back row. Smith looks like he actually gets to be a genuine back row replacement rather than the emergency backs replacement, winger replacement. Now, it's quite ironic that South Africa have gone unusually for 3 backs on the bench, and Australia have gone the other way, unusually for 6 forwards on the bench. So it's just a funny one there. But Hendrikse covers 9 ahead of Herschel Jantes. Looks like he's at least moved ahead in the pecking order there. Elton Jantes, who covers 10, and then Francois Steyn comes in, the experienced Steyn. He gets his go as utility back cover, which I think is a good idea, rotate them around. Now, Francois Steyn comes in as the utility back cover for Willy le Roux. I think they're just rotating here. I don't think that's a performance thing because le Roux's been brilliant, I think, coming in as an impact sub. So I think it's just trying both out. Both can play that sort of role. Obviously, Steyn a bit more physical, can come in the centres as well. So maybe even more of a utility back than le Roux is. So yeah, I like the setup of both teams. It's really interesting. Got a few new players in. The returning players for Australia are super important. They're going for that 6-2 split, and that leaves them vulnerable, I think, at 10 if there's an injury to Lolesio. South Africa are certainly less vulnerable to that, putting a lot of faith in the guys maybe who didn't have the best game last game, so that's big for them. Really think it's fairly finely balanced, actually. South Africa will be favourites with their power. Australia, though, I think those reinforcements bring them right back into it at home. So yeah, I'd say it's probably a 60% favourites for South Africa in my head, but a decent chance for Australia. So let me know what you think of those teams and how it's going to go. Now on to New Zealand versus Argentina. The same starting 15 for New Zealand. Unsurprising, giving them another go after they performed so well. The Crusader players are kind of double at home, being in Christchurch as well, which is interesting. Foster's job now secure, so that's good to settle the team. Sam Cane, his job as captain and open side is probably now secure as well by association with Foster. So they'll look to kick on. It's a bit of a lose-lose actually for New Zealand. They'll be expected to win both games at home. Against Argentina, who are a good team, but maybe not the strongest team in the championship, it's probably only acceptable to the public of New Zealand if they win both games. So that's a little bit of added pressure, I guess. Now, another interesting twist to this game, something I'm going to be looking at, is will we see some more ingenuity from New Zealand with the impact of Joe Schmidt, who's come into the coaching department now properly. So that's going to be interesting. So quite a lot of positives there for New Zealand. The young and new front row get to go again, so they've still got plenty to prove, but they went great last game. De Groot, Takiaho, Lomax, particularly impressed with Takiaho. I think he really looks like their number one going forward. Whitelock and Barrett as the second rows, but Vai is there on the bench, and I want to see him get plenty of time. I think that's going to be important for the future for the World Cup. Frizzell starts again at blindside. I'm sure he's going to have the remit of just go out and be big and physical, especially against the Argentinian pack, who is physical themselves, who did a number on Australia last time out. Kane I mentioned at 7. I'm going to be watching him closely to see how effective he is. Ardie Surveyor is normally great. Smith Mwanga, they go again. In the centres, Havili gets to go at 12 again, and maybe a couple of good games for him. Seals his spot at 12, although the pressure's back on, with Quintupaya returning on the bench, who will want that spot as well. So I like that battle. Who's going to come out on top? Let me know what you think. Back 3, Will Jordan gets to go again on the wing, although, yeah, he probably is a better 15, but Geordie Barrett had a great game at 15 against South Africa, so no surprise he stays. Caleb Clark gets to go again on the left wing, although all eyes, certainly my eyes, are on his defence. Not convinced by that. Am convinced by his power in attack and the lines he hits. So that's an interesting one. On the bench, Taylor there is the impact hooker now. Bauer, Young Newell, the two props. Vai I mentioned. Akira Ioane coming on. I think his spot might be slightly vulnerable. Let me know what you think when injuries come back in, the likes of Blackadder. Finlay Christie there, back up 9. The interesting one on the bench, I think the most interesting, apart from the returning Tapia, is Stephen Perafita. Now, the Blues 10 is a really good player, can play 15 equally as well, not just, something he could do. So he's coming in for Beauden Barrett, who was injured in training, which is a big shame. But he's similar to Beauden Barrett, as in he is a specialist 10 and specialist 15. So I like that swap. So that's a big chance for him. He was the next cab off the rank anyway. He gets to make his debut. Exciting stuff for him. On to Argentina, who really have got nothing to lose in these games. I do like that. They can just go for it. They lead the standings. They come off a great win to Australia. So they're going to be highly motivated. They've had to leave some players at home. They want to build experience in the squad for the World Cup, which I understand, but shame not to see Creevy. Imhoff's not there, so a little bit weaker potentially squad-wise. Sclavi gets promoted to start at tight head for experience probably. Alemano, Big Lavanini in the second rows, Gonzalez, the nasty Kramer, the ever-explosive Matera there at 8. So, I do like those players. Sometimes they can do stuff and get in a bit of trouble, but they're very, very explosive. They'll be fired up. Tears in the Anthem, love that sort of stuff. The half-backs there, Carreras especially, I like at 10. I do like him. He's very exciting. They've had to shuffle a bit in the backs, the outside backs, which isn't great. Sinti comes in on the wing. He's a centre in place of the experienced Imhoff, so not ideal. Orlando there in for the injured De La Fuente with Moroni, so a bit of a shuffle as well. Buffelli, who kicks the goals from the wing. And then the replacements, as you see, as I said, I'm going to be watching quite a lot of these guys. Haven't seen a lot of these guys. Let me know who impresses you or who you think is going to be a bit of a breakthrough player. So nothing to lose for Argentina against now a fairly settled New Zealand. I like the way this is going to set up because Argentina can just go for it. If they get one win in these games, that's a big positive for them. And again, alarm bells for New Zealand. They're going to be looking to win both of these games. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of all those teams, how these games are going to go. So well set up round 3. Can't wait, and I'll catch you next time.